What up, though, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the GOAT Debate Podcast. So glad you guys are joining us here live on Facebook. This is episode 23 of the GOAT Debate Podcast, and we're so glad you're joining us. And we have quite the panel tonight for this episode of the GOAT Debate. Darius, how you doing tonight? You all right?
Never all right, Stokes. I'm never all right.
busy man, of course, as always. And we've been going back and forth in preparation for tonight's episode. It should be an interesting discussion because it's not just me and Darius running our mouths, going back and forth with our banter. We have some special guests with us tonight. Like I said, we have a whole panel for tonight's discussion. So I just want to quickly introduce everybody. Our first duo here is they're the host of the Relationship Review Podcast. We have Edison and Coco. How you guys doing?
We are great. Thank you for having us.
Good. We're so glad to have you guys. And then we have the host of the Off the Bounce Podcast, Mr. Darnell Bloomfield. How you doing, Darnell?
How y'all doing, fellas? How y'all doing, everybody?
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I was about to say thanks for having me. Thanks for joining. And last but not least, we have the host of the Derelict Collective, a great podcast that we're going to learn a little bit more about on tonight's episode. We have Kyra with us tonight. How you doing, Kyra?
Hi guys, I'm good. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. So all of us are kind of a part of this kind of African-American podcasting network. That's kind of how we are connected. And so we at the GOAT Debate, well, I say we, but really Darius, kind of extended the olive branch out, wanted to kind of do some crossover to get to know some other podcasters. And we thought, what better way to do that than to have some of you guys on the GOAT Debate. And so tonight, with it being, just a couple of days before Halloween, we are going to debate the greatest horror films of all time here on episode 23 of the GOAT Debate. Now, how are you guys feeling about that? Are you guys fans of horror films? I know you kind of gave us some input. Sometimes I'm not a big horror film guy. I'm a little bit of a chicken, but I will watch it. But Are you guys big horror film fans? Is this like the time of year where you really watch a lot?
Yes.
But yeah, I'm a 24/7, 365 horror girl. So Halloween means nothing to me. I do this year round.
Oh wow! Okay. All right.
Same here. Yes.
Yeah. What about you, Darnell?
Yes, definitely. I love me some horror films. I'll be scared, but I'm gonna still watch them. Still watch them.
And I'm not even gonna ask Darius. I already know he's scared all the time. So, but let's get right into it. So for those that are new to the GOAT Debate, we count down the latest and greatest in whatever topic of discussion is on the docket. We've done it all, guys. We've debated everything from sports to movies, which we're going to do movies again tonight. We even debated the best chocolate candy. Like we had a episode where we debated the best chocolate candy, and it was a really popular episode. I was very surprised by that, but you'll be surprised. Darius is quite the historian, and he gave us some history on chocolate that none of us probably would care to know. But anyway, tonight we're going to debate the greatest horror films of all time. But before we get into our top 5, I want to ask each of you. I'll start with Edison and Coco. We'll go to Kyla, and then we'll go to Darnell. You guys gave us a ranking of your favorite horror films.
Yes.
I want to know which one is number one on your list. Give us a little bit of the reasoning why that movie made the top of your list, and then we'll get into the top 5 tonight and see if your movie made our list.
Okay. Well, I think we had 2 different number ones, probably. Because, I don't know. What was yours? Who is it? Okay, that was not mine.
Okay.
My number one was Alice Sweet. That was one of my like all-time favorite horror movies. It's one of the first ones that I saw because the movie, first of all, is very old, so I saw it when I was much younger. And it's just like classic horror where you really have to be paying attention to the details. It really surprises you with the twist. And I can watch that movie just at the drop of a hat. No matter how many times I've seen it, I still love it.
Okay. And I had to listen. Edison, I got to tell you, I had to Google it because I actually had never heard of it. But Alice, Sweet Alice, is a 1976 American slasher film. And first of all, some of the pictures look horrifying. These masks and things that they got on, it looks a little creepy. So I'm gonna have to. I'm taking some of the movies you guys listed here because like The Visit I'm familiar with, but I don't think I've ever seen it. So I got a couple days here. I might have me a little horror film movie marathon and get into some of this a little bit. But what about The Visit? What makes that such a great horror film?
Well, for me, horror isn't really about like the scariness or like right of it. It's more of like the plot development and how everything like comes together at the end of the movie.
Yes.
So one thing for The Visit that I found was really unique was how the plot like developed and how you would like get hints of things that were like going on, but you weren't really sure about it. And I just thought it's like a really cool play on like how it just rolled out.
That was a good job of like trying to say it, but without giving everything away.
That's the worst thing for me because whenever I'm trying.
I think I have seen this movie. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's fine. It's like, but like when I'm trying to describe things, I end up giving way too many details and ruin it. So I'm trying to withhold.
Yeah, giving away like all the spoilers. Are y'all gonna do like the?
I mean, some of these movies are old enough where if they haven't seen them right now, it's like, listen, The Visit came out in 2015. It's 2020.
That's true. Yes.
So if we give some stuff away tonight, Coco, it's all good. We're not mad at you. But I do remember this movie. This is the movie with like the crazy grandma, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so M. Night Shyamalan was the director of this movie. It came out in 2015. You guys probably, I don't know if you knew this, but the movie was made on a $5 million budget and grossed almost $100 million at the box office. So it made some money. Good movie. Mm-hmm. M. Night Shyamalan is actually, he makes some really good movies. I know a movie that...
and some really bad ones.
Yeah, true.
Yes, he cannot always be trusted.
That's true. I mean, The Sixth Sense, right? That's kind of the movie I think that everybody kind of remembers. They kind of put him on the map. The Village was kind of weird, but
the ending was horrible.
The ending was bad. It was really bad. But I remember that, and then the one with like the mermaid or whatever.
I didn't watch that.
Oh my god!
I mean, yeah. So
hard pass.
But
I think he's like
for his movies like that.
He may be like like Aretha Franklin and like Mary J. Blige made really their best music when they have been like dogged and treated real bad. Maybe he is like that where he makes his best movies when somebody is really like dogging him out. Yeah. But we don't know that because it's not coming out, in his songs. We don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
There has to be a reason. You cannot like make a movie that's like really, really good and then also make such garbage. It just doesn't add up.
Yeah, it don't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, every artist, like you use the music analogy. I mean, so, sometimes they have a hit, sometimes they have a flop. It's bound to happen. Now, Kyra, you heard some good movies here, and you had one that was number one on your list that I was very unfamiliar with. Like, I say very unfamiliar. I wasn't familiar with it at all, Kyra. I'm not gonna hold it.
Did you work on that movie, Kyra? Were you on the set?
I wasn't on the set. It's a funny story. So, my husband and I, we were out for a movie, and I think the movie we wanted to see was sold out. And I was just like, okay, screw it. We'll just go and see this movie, Midsummer. I heard about it in the music film festival. It got like really good reviews. Let's check it out. We went to go see it in theaters by ourselves. It was like a 11 p.m. showing, and it's a psychological thriller. I will not give it away, but I mean, if any of us have ever watched foreign films, they do not censor a lot of things. They don't really believe in censorship. So there's a lot of goriness. There's a lot of like upfront. So you know, like in American films, when they like kill someone and they'll like pan the video. Not in this film. If someone is being murdered, you're seeing full-fledged like what's going on. And I want to say probably within like the first 15 minutes of the movie, it's some very gory, like murder, suicide type stuff going on. And like I said, it's a psychological film. It's to the point where you tell yourself, I'm never going to Sweden. I pray I never end up in a commune. I don't want to interact with anyone who has blonde hair and blue eyes. Like, it was like it's very similar to what Edison was saying, where it's like, for me, it's not about jump factor. It has everything to do with the plot of the movie and the storyline, and it's a great storyline.
Agreed.
Okay, so I got to check it out. So, Kyra is kind enough not to give the movie's details away. It did come out in 2019, so we might still be within that grace period where we'll give people some time. But a lot of positive reviews from what I see here about the movie. Came out, like I said, in 2019, and as Kyra said, a Swedish horror film that I'm going to have to add to my list. I don't watch many foreign films, but I'm gonna have to check that one out. Darius, were you familiar with Midsummer?
What?
No, of course not. Why did I even ask? I should ask. He's not familiar. He's not familiar with it. You guys will learn.
I watched the trailer and I'm still not familiar. I know what's going on. All I know is like we go into these fields and like who is being recruited to go to these fields? Like why would you agree to go? You got all of Europe. I'm confused. I don't know.
So you got to check it out. I gotta watch it. We definitely gotta watch it. Now, Darnell, last but not least here, your favorite horror film and why?
I had picked The Conjuring.
Oh,
that movie right there creeped me out.
Yeah.
I was like, man, like the whole plot between like just being like based on a true story and just everything jumping out at you left and right. I'm like, man, what is going on here? Like it literally had me like freaked out. Like, look, I can't. Got you like looking in the corners. You like you run downstairs real quick. You like looking around. Like, all right, make sure nothing pop out at me. You like open doors slow. You open cabinets slow. Like, all right, nothing's gonna get me. All right. Like, that movie was crazy.
Yeah, definitely, and it's probably one of it's actually one of the most I think from a like box office perspective, it's one of the most popular horror films out there. It actually got several votes. Darnell, and I hate to say this, Edison, Coco, Kyra, I hate to tell you guys, Darnell has the only movie that actually got votes from our tribe, our group of listeners. So Darnell scored a point there tonight. The Conjuring got several votes from the people that we polled throughout the week leading up to the episode. It's definitely was one of the favorites, but $20 million box office budget and it grossed $319 million. So it is very commercially successful. That a lot of times commercial success doesn't necessarily mean that it's good, but a lot of people. I've never seen The Conjuring. Now, of course, I've heard of it. I've never. I know. I told you I'm a chicken, right? I'm not voluntarily watching horror films. But I haven't seen The Conjuring 1 or 2, and I hear both of them were really scary. I'm not a big fan. I'll be honest with you. Like when it comes to horror movies, I kind of like the slasher stuff. I'm not a huge fan of the I don't know when it kind of gets into the like possession and that kind of it freaks me out a little bit. Like Darnell said, I want to sleep at night. Like I want to sleep good at night. But The Conjuring, I'll have to add that one to my list too. I got a lot of homework to do between now and Saturday. Darius.
All right, let me ask this question to the panel here. Where are you on horror films? Is it the Possessed, or do you lean on the more realistic, like Grandma is a Psycho Killer or whatever, without giving away that movie? Where do you lie as far as your favorite scare, the most scare factor, the biggest scare factor? Is it Possessed, or is it just some creepy thriller?
I think for me, I think it's more like the Possessed, the ghost, like the creepiness, like just the ghost and the popping out, slashing, like that right there. That'll catch me every single time. Like because you be watching the movie and like how you're so focused on the movie, and then something just flies across and you're like, did you see that? And they got you thinking like, yo, am I seeing shadows running by like me? Like they got you.
You be really concerned about that. You're really concerned about your space, like in your home after you watch these things.
Oh yeah, you gotta get the sage or something. Get the sage.
Start saying prayers and everything, right? Yeah. Does anybody else have a preference, or is just kind of?
I think I lean more to like the psychological thrillers because I can talk myself out of possession not being real.
Sure.
Like you come home and you can say, oh, it's just a creak in the house. I'm familiar with this or that. But for me, psychological thrillers, it's like, okay, that's a possibility that it could be my next door neighbor. So that freaks me out more than the possibility of a possession.
Yeah. So you like the more where it's kind of more of a realistic.
Based on a true story. Because at that point, I'm driving home, freaking out. Like I don't want to get out of my car.
Yeah, for sure. Got you. All right, guys. So now we're going to go ahead and get into the top 5 that were voted on by our great listeners out there, people that follow us on social media. And tonight, Darius, our top 5 is actually a top 6 technically because we had a tie at number 5. Darius, you already look perturbed. We haven't even So Darius and the tribe are usually not in sync. He usually has like these off the wall rankings, and then everybody else kind of tends to kind of be in line with me. Or at least that's how I see it. But the last couple weeks, I've been off. He's been in sync with the tribe. That's right. So, but this week, you've been way off, bro.
This week is not me. This week is the worst. I'm trying to calm down.
I
don't know what they were doing. This list is horrible.
I think this is a great list, personally, but we'll see. We'll get the thoughts from our panel and we'll see. So we're starting with number 5.
They agree with me.
They haven't even heard the list yet. We're starting with number 5, and we had a tie at number 5. And so the first movie, we want to get you guys' thoughts on it. This movie, it wasn't like personally in my top 5, but I can understand why people really ranked this movie where they did. The tribe loved this movie. It was number 2. It got the second most votes in our polling this week. A 1979 horror film. So taking you back to 79. It's a sci-fi horror film. Ridley Scott was the director. Sigourney Weaver was the star.
Okay.
And this movie, listen, Alien was scary. Alien. Now I know Kyra said, we can get in the car and kind of know that Alien is not gonna attack us.
Right.
But I was believing that it might be an alien in the closet or something. I mean, that movie really freaked me out. But coming in at number 5 on our list is Alien, and I want to get you guys' thoughts. Kyra's saying no. Kyra, you shaking your head. No, I'm going to start with you. Not a fan of Alien?
No, Alien is more sci-fi than it is horror.
Yeah.
Number one. Number 2, for it to be horror, I think it would have to be on Earth, and that still includes. That still excludes Alien versus Predator when they came to Earth. That still excludes that. So I don't agree.
Oh, what about Halloween H2O in Space or whatever that
Also,
what about that one?
Those movies were terrible. They were.
That's not a horror.
Yeah. It wasn't a horror for me. It was just
they were horrible.
It was just a waste. It was just didn't know what to do with the series and decided to take it to space because they were bored. I guess that's just where I see with it. But like, I get why they would be afraid of aliens because, one, if the pods mates with your face, then like you lose your life because they burst out of your body. Like, I get that portion of why it would be scary, but I wouldn't classify it even remotely ever as horror ever.
Nah.
So that's interesting that you say that, and I'll let someone else chime in. That's interesting that you say that because that was a discussion item between 2 members of the tribe. Like when we put the post out, someone voted for Alien, and someone else said, well, I kind of classify that as a sci-fi movie. And then that debate kind of started. Now, technically, it is classified as a science fiction horror film. So by definition, technically, it's horror. But I tend to agree with you, Kyra. I think it's scary sci-fi. It scared the heck out of me. But I can understand why you would say it's more classified as sci-fi. And Edison, I think you it sounds like you agree as well.
I do agree. I don't think it belongs in anybody's top 5.
Wow.
Horror. Just for like straight horror, no.
Yeah. Darnell, what about you, man? Come on.
Same. I don't even think Alien was scary at all. Like, it had no scare factor to me. I was just like, okay, it's aliens.
The little baby coming out of the alien's mouth and the little baby. Oh my God, that was
that didn't scare me.
Yeah. And we got some people in our chat room chiming in. What's up, guys? Shane says I think it's more sci-fi. James agrees as well. He says yes, it was. And by yes, it was, he means sci-fi. He was amening your point there, Kyra. But votes are votes. Alien comes in a 5th place tie with a 1973 movie that I think we all would agree is a horror movie. We got a lot of votes from like my mom was like, this movie is one of the scariest movies I ever seen in my life. It's so horrifying when it first came out. But we go back to 1973. One of our first kind of supernatural possession movies. We're going back to that whole possession thing, and we're talking about The Exorcist.
I knew
The Exorcist comes in tied at number 5. Darnell, I'll start with you. I don't know if you've ever seen The Exorcist.
Yes.
He's seen it, and he's been very afraid.
This is right in his wheelhouse.
Once you said, you was like, possession, and then you said 1973. I said that's Exorcist right there off the bat. I knew that was straight Exorcist. But yeah, that movie was creepy. They keep remaking it, and it's just getting crazier and crazier as they keep going. Like, no matter how many times they remake that movie, it is creepy as all hell though.
Yeah, and I guess would The Exorcist kind of be like the godfather of all of these, like, possession type movies. I mean, isn't The Exorcist kind of like the originator of that?
Yeah, it is. It is, truly is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can. Yeah. Because that was. I mean, I think that was probably when they really started being introduced to like FX makeup and utilizing different like CGI factors in movies. So I can see like why in 1973 it would be like probably one of the scariest movies you would see then. As a kid watching that version of The Exorcist, it was terrifying. But I think as an adult watching it, knowing how far we progressed in media and watching it, like you tend to laugh at it because it's like, look how crappy the picture was. But it's still, the storyline I think is still pretty scary. And I think if you're looking at it from like a parental perspective, like if your daughter was possessed and did stuff like that to her, then it'll probably freak you out and terrify you.
Look how Coco's looking at
We're talking about you.
Not yet.
And it's funny that it's interesting that you mentioned that, because when you do go back and kind of watch some of the horror films from like the 70s, because of the advancements in technology and filmmaking and all of those things, they don't seem as scary, but the storylines, if the movie is well written, it can still creep you out. And The Exorcist is kind of one of those movies. Are you a fan, Edison? Were you a fan of The Exorcist?
I watched it like on TV when I was a kid. I thought it was pretty creepy. But like was said, it was the introducing movie or the introduction movie into this whole genre of white girl possessed. Movies where like the only thing that can save her is if the priest comes, and I just wasn't into it. I just wasn't into that whole line of films because I felt like I seen them all. So, what I can say is that like my mother told me about when she went to see that movie in the theaters, the way that they marketed it, that people were literally in the theater getting sick, throwing up, having to run out. They were crying like they couldn't take it. So I think the experience, if I had gone into the movies and like seen it, it would have had a much bigger impact on me.
Wow.
Hearing her talk about it,
that's crazy. That
is scary. But for me, just watching it, I can skip over it every single time. Like it's
okay. Well, here's the thing that I think helps. Looking back at it now, the Wayans and Scary Movie ruined that for us. Like making fun of it and everything a joke.
Yes.
Hey, go back to the seriousness of it all.
Exactly.
It was the first horror flick ever nominated for a Best Picture. So when it came out, it was that thing. So keep that in mind. But since then, like you said, not only the technology, but I think also the fact that everybody has spoofed it in some way or another, it kind of wears on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So The Exorcist and Alien were tied for number 5. And now we're going to jump to number 3 because there was a tie at number 3. So there's no number 4 because we have 2 number 3s. And I'm going to introduce this movie. I'm going to give the floor to Darius because in Darius's opinion, this is the scariest horror film of all time. Now this movie
all time.
Okay.
Darius's opinion. It's the scariest movie of all time. Now listen, I told you I'm a chicken. I haven't seen this one either. But I remember seeing...
You say that about every single one, really.
What did you say?
I said you saying that about every single one.
I saw Exorcist, I saw Alien. I saw those two.
I was scared of Finding Nemo, guys. Finding Nemo scared.
This is the only movie in our top 5 tonight that I haven't seen. But I saw the trailer for this movie And there's a reason why I didn't watch it, because the trailer scared the heck out of me. This movie came out in 2008. It's a movie about a family vacationing in a home, and these mysterious masked people come in the house and like terrorize them. The movie is called The Strangers.
Yeah.
And Darius, I'm gonna give you the floor because this is your baby. This is your number one. This is not number one on our list, but it came in at number 3. It got some votes too, but you love it, and I'm gonna give you the floor to tell us why.
Don't talk to me about no aliens jumping out of stomachs. No floating white girls possessed. But if you talk about somebody ringing on your doorbell at 4 a.m. and then all of a sudden you got other people showing up on all sides of your home in mass and they breaking in, now that's scary. That's scary. Listen, we got the Ring doorbell at my house, right? And anytime the wind blows and that thing goes off at 4 a.m., I got my protection and I'm ready to go. Okay, that's all because of this movie.
Oh my gosh,
this movie is no joke. Listen, y'all can't tell me this ain't the scariest thing ever. You talk about realistic. You talk about realism. This movie. I know y'all agree with me.
You can't even get the words out. You see,
it's scary.
Just talking
we got
about
Coco in here. I'm not trying to give her nightmares, man.
Oh no, I'm tough.
Okay. Coco says she can handle it. It's you.
I've been watching horror films since I was 10.
Okay, maybe it's just me then. Maybe it's just me that can't handle it.
I saw the trailer and I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need to see it. I don't need those type of visuals in my life, because like you said, that can happen. I mean, people out here, listen, this world is crazy. That can happen. Have any of you guys seen The Strangers?
Yes.
Yes.
I
Yes.
haven't.
I've seen that.
I haven't.
What did you think about it, Darnell?
Man, like just like he said, like it's a realistic, like it can really happen to you. Like some 4 people could show up to your house and it literally had me like, come on, don't open the door. Oh no, they got in the house. Like I'm like, oh, run out. Why y'all keep going back inside the house? Won't y'all just leave? Like y'all just kept. I'm like, man, I had me yelling at them like, oh man, y'all gonna die right now. Like, had me mad at them like, man, y'all deserve to die. If y'all gonna stay there, y'all deserve to die.
Listen. The girl cries out, "Why are you doing this to me?" And he simply responds, "Because you were home."
Yep.
Like, yo, that is creepy.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Okay, that's 12 years old. There's no grace period. We're spoiling that one, but
yes.
I
agree. It definitely belongs on the list. Yeah. I saw that one in the theater, and this movie, like, it was marketed very well.
Yeah.
And I feel like it felt like a new concept. Like when it came out and you watch the trailer, it's like, what? You know, like it caught people by surprise. And when I went to the theater to see this movie, it was a mixed audience, but everybody in there was yelling at the screen, like, girl, no, don't do that. Like, everybody in there. So it was a big, because I went to see it on like one of the, like opening weekend or something. And, the audience is more responsive and reactive. So I remember this movie, like it wasn't on my list. I guess I forgot about it, but I remember that being a very interactive audience because it was full of moments where the people in the house didn't do the thing that you felt like they should have done the entire time.
Yep.
Yes, it was crazy. I think it's scarier than like movies that came out after it, like The Purge, yeah. Which maybe I think tried to capture some of that, but they don't compare.
Yeah, I hear you. Dear, somebody says stop being a punk. Stop being a punk. James said they won't do that in the hood. He said the strangers won't.
People
Listen.
say that all the time. Everybody doesn't have the same fight or flight mechanism, so you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Listen.
You're right.
It was supposed to take place in Florence, South Carolina. That ain't too far from y'all. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Rural. Okay, so we're not talking the hood. All right.
Right.
This was in a rural area. And listen, I have family in the hood. People have run through my grandma's house in the hood. They may or may not been being pursued by the police. That's a whole different podcast. But it could absolutely happen in the hood, James. You're not excluded because you live in the hood.
Or, you know what? It's where you you look for your Airbnb. Like when you think you're gonna have a getaway,
right.
you know. This is the place where you be getting your Airbnb.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Might make
You
me
think
think
you have a
twice
nice-
about Airbnb and now. Now I gotta think about it a little harder now. But Edison says she forgot about this movie. Darius, there might be a reason why Edison forgot. Rotten Tomatoes gave it like a 48%. That could be why people forgot about it. So one of your favorites, but not necessarily critically acclaimed, Darius. So, but the movie that is tied with this is my baby right here. This is my favorite. Listen, critically acclaimed. Okay, I'll ask you guys this, and you probably will know what it is. What horror film has the best soundtrack ever? Like in the movie, what horror film has the best soundtrack ever?
Probably Get Out or
Halloween.
Oh, Get Out is good though. I forgot about Get Out, Kyron. Gosh, that was a good one. But Darnell hit the nail on the head. Darnell's scoring all the points today. My favorite horror film of all time. No, it's not a contest. No, it's not. There's no point for anything. There's no winner or anything. I'm just messing around. But my favorite horror film of all time comes in at number 3, and it is Halloween. Halloween is that movie that, even though it was made in the 70s and we talked about the advancements in technology and filmmaking and all that, this movie is still scary. Like today. It is still. Now, Kyra's giving that look. I'm going to let Kyra talk. She's like, I don't think so. But this movie is still scary. Now, let's erase all the remakes. Although the most recent one.
Remakes? I'm about to say, because the Rob Zombie one is probably my favorite.
Now see, that one was that he took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, he did.
I love that one because he gives like a different backstory.
Yeah, he does.
All makes sense.
Yeah, and he did 2, right? He did 2. He did that one. Then he did a sequel. But the original, just the story, the music. I mean, it's just like that music is like he's coming to get you, and it just it freaks you out. And what I really like is how, and listen, Halloween Part 3, that season of the witch. That was
terrible.
That needs to be removed from the history, from the annals of all Halloween history. But Part 1 and 2 together, how it was like a continuation of. It was really 2 movies, but it was like 1 movie. I mean, it literally. I like when Part 2 of movies like start off where like exactly where Part 1 ended, and that whole just story, the Laurie Strode and Michael Myers and all of that coming together. It is it's my favorite. It's my favorite. Now that one is one I'll watch. It comes on. I'm not scared. I'm not too scared now to turn that one on and watch it. But I love Halloween. What do you guys think about Halloween?
I don't think it should be number 3 for the scariest movies of, I don't know, all time. Like it's a great movie. It's a classic. I watch it with my 4-year-old. He likes it.
What's that saying about the movie, or how tough this 4-year-old is?
What does that say about me and my level of fear?
Like, okay, so the storyline behind Michael Myers is very interesting. Like how he became to be Michael Myers, and then like his connection to Jamie Lee Curtis's character in the movie, and so forth and so on. Like it's crazy, like the build up. But like, I just don't think it's so scary that you can't watch it in the dark at midnight. It's one of those movies where I think that you can and be perfectly fine with going to sleep as if nothing ever happened.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I can see that, but it's just it gets me every time. It's a good one, and I haven't seen the most recent one because they brought Jamie Lee Curtis back, and so basically what they've done with this new one, I haven't seen it, but I won't give it away.
I think I stopped at the Rob Zombie ones, and yeah.
So they're basically telling you to erase every Halloween movie that you've ever seen, with the exception of the original one in '78, and then this one is 40 years later. It's essentially like a new part 2. So it's like 40 years later, he's coming back to to get Jamie Lee Curtis's character. Now he has a family and all these different things.
How do you just remake the second one?
Yeah, like how do you?
That's just random.
Where's the build-up?
So that's how they try to introduce it. It's basically a continuation of part 1 40 years later. Is basically how they're doing it. But I heard that it's really good though, so I gotta check it out. But Halloween is. Go ahead, Darnell.
I would say Halloween, like as they kept going on. You were like, at one point, you're like, well, where's these people at? Like, they had H2O, and I'm like, okay, her son. But then you're like, where did her son go? Like, she don't have a son no more? Now she got a daughter? Like, what happened? I'm like, so, like how it followed, like, from, I think, 1, 2, and then, you got to skip 3 because that didn't matter.
Yep.
And then you got to go 4, 5. But, that was pretty cool how they kept adding to him. Then they brought his niece into there, and I'm like, wow, okay, then that's an uncle. I'm like, all right. But yeah, every time we watch like a Halloween movie, like I watch it with my kids too, and they're like, whoa, like Mike Myers. I'm like, man, look, Mike Myers ain't never running for you, but he gonna pop up from wherever. He gonna come from the ceiling. He gonna do everything. I'm like, he doing pull-ups. He not gonna just slash you up. He gonna stab you, hang you up on the door, like. He gonna do you dirty. I was like, he gonna do you dirty.
Never runs, but he somehow gets you. He always gets you. So yeah, so Halloween coming in at a number 3 tie. Kyra is shaking her head. She doesn't like this run. She doesn't like this. And I understand. But Kyra, you kind of gave. Oh, go ahead, Darius. Were you gonna say something?
No, well, I was thinking, you must have saw me. The wheels were turning because you were saying she doesn't like this list, but she also watches scary movies with her 4-year-old. They are on a different level. We're not there.
They're on a whole different level of scary, right? Whole different level. There. But she talked about watching a movie and being able to go to sleep and not scared. And that is a great segue into our number 2 movie, because when I watched this movie, I was afraid to go to sleep because I literally felt like I could be killed in my sleep, in my dream.
I know what this is, I think.
Yep.
Coming in at number 2.
Finding Nemo 2?
1984. What did you say, Darius?
No, keep going.
1984. None other than Freddy Krueger himself. A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, come on, guys. This one is scary, right? This movie was scary, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, Coco's like, nah, I don't know. Have you seen A Nightmare on Elm Street?
I haven't.
No.
I have not.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I want to suggest that you see it because you might not want to go to sleep after you've seen it.
Oh no, I'm making a list.
Oh, you made a
list.
Okay, so Edison.
You set mom up for failure.
Legit, right? Tell Coco this is a legit scary movie, right?
I would say yes. I probably haven't seen it in like 15 years, but I would say it's a classic. I would call it a classic. I saw this movie probably when I was way too young to be seeing movies like this. and it legitimately scared the absolute heck out of me because the idea that, little kids have scary dreams. So the idea that something from my dream could actually hurt me or harm me, and then, like Darnell has been saying, that, it might be in my closet, or, my parents had a really hard time with me after this movie for a long time. Like, getting up to go to the bathroom, going to get snacks. I was not having it.
And not just somebody in your dreams, but like this burnt man with a burnt face and razor blades on his finger. I mean, listen, I have one of the most traumatizing events of my life took place around Nightmare on Elm Street. My cousins were older, and they took me to see A Nightmare on Elm Street, knowing that I was going to be scared to death. First of all, I blame my aunt, my uncle, my mother, whoever the adults were in this, who left me in their care. And so they take me to the movies because they're old enough to get in. So they take me. I'm so scared. We go back home. We go back to their house. And so then they just decide at this point, they know I'm scared to death. They terrorize me. They turn off lights. They're making noises. First of all, then they played Michael Jackson's Thriller, which was horrifying for me at the time too. And I was crying. I was so traumatized, and I blame Freddy Krueger and my cousin for all of that. And I probably didn't sleep for not good for a while. Yes. But Nightmare on Elm Street was just the whole storyline behind it, just to have this killer who
killed children at that.
Yeah, yes, that was the part too that made it so scary for us because when that movie came out, if we were younger, back in the 80s, I was an 80s baby, so in the 80s being a kid, it was so different. Song? One,
yes.
Two,
yes. Oh my gosh.
Don't sing it, Kyrie. Don't sing it.
Is that gonna throw him right here, right now?
But listen, that was the part that made it so much different than other scary movies because this was a guy that was actually killing kids.
Yeah.
So that brought a whole different element because like you said, you could sleep at night thinking, oh well, Michael Myers really, at the end of the day, he only trying to get his sister. He don't really care. Everybody else are kind of like casualties. You just in the way, and he just kind of gets you out the way. No, Freddy Krueger is getting kids in dreams, and that part made it
in daydreams too. He was if you daydream, he gets you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And really,
then there was no place to be safe. Not at school, not at home, not nowhere. Yeah.
And then they kind of got bad. The first couple were good. I think maybe even the first 3 or 4, and then Freddy kind of went from this scary guy to more of a comedian. By the time we got to part 4 or 5, he just was really funny. He would say all these crazy catchphrases, and then they kind of made it a little too comical. I thought as the movies progressed, but the original Nightmare on Elm Street, even the second one, where was the one where he was in the guy's belly and he came out of the dude's belly? I don't know if that was part 2 or part 3, but
I think it was 3.
That one was wild. That one was wild too. So, Darius, have you seen A Nightmare on Elm Street?
You know what's not comical?
Oh gosh,
The Strangers.
Oh my god! No, we didn't say the original Nightmare on Elm Street was comical. Some of the sequels, Freddy Krueger was scary as heck in the original one. He was scary. And then just that name, Freddy Krueger, a creepy name, and then he had the striped shirt. I actually dressed up for him for Halloween one time when I was a kid. I think it was a reverse psychology thing, maybe if I dress up like him, he won't come get me in my dreams. So, but yeah. So Nightmare on Elm Street comes in at number 2 on our list, and I think that's one we all kind of unanimously agree that's like legitimately scary. Like Kyra's nodding her head. Yes, she likes that one. Darnell, Edison, and Coco. And Coco hasn't seen it yet, but it's on her list. She's gonna watch it this weekend and report back to us and let us know. And I don't know where Darius is. He's always out in left field with his choices. So yeah, with the strangers. I mean, come on.
Listen.
I mean, but I heard that was scary though, so I won't give you too hard of a time. All right, so before we get to number one, which is the movie that we think is the GOAT, which I personally don't agree with, but we'll get to that in a second. Tell me some movies that maybe we're forgetting about. Give me some snubs, some horror films that maybe made your top 5 that we didn't talk about that you think maybe it should be worthy of top 5 consideration. I'll start with Darnell, then I'll go to Kyra, and then Coco and Edison. And then you too, Darius, after everybody else.
I would say like the movies like the Final Destinations, like those is crazy because it makes you think like, dang, like me just tripping over did I skip death? Like you thinking like, did I just skip death? Like, am I is gonna come back around and get me? Like, or you like, and it makes you like kind of watch now. Like if you're on the highway, like on the highway, you see like the trucks with the brand.
Yeah,
and
every single time.
I can't be over
there. I don't hear those things.
Yeah,
I'm gonna switch lanes. I'm trying to get in front of it. I'm like, got you looking around. Like, okay, is there anything around here that like I could trip over something? Like even on the plane, you're like, if someone starts freaking out right now like that, am I going like, what's going to happen? Like, do I need to get off this plane with them? Like. It has you thinking, like, if someone starts freaking out on the plane, like, everybody needs to get off this plane. Are you going to go with him? Or are you going to be like, nah, he just tripping. I'm like, I'm going to get off with him.
Yeah, Final Destination was different. I think that's what I liked about it. It kind of scared you in a different way. Like, it wasn't like the slasher thing. It kind of broke some of those traditions and was kind of different. So yeah, I liked Final Destination. I definitely liked it for sure. What about you?
Well, he's got a point there because all the other movies they may have the jump factor, but if you're thinking about it 15 years later, switching lanes because somebody's driving a log truck.
And
that's some torture right there. That's torture.
Yeah.
And Final Destination, again, points for Darnell. Final Destination did come in with our voters. It was number 5. And Shane says he loves the Final Destination franchise. So Shane's a big fan of it as well. But yeah, Final Destination is definitely a good one. Is it a horror movie though? I guess that would.
Do people get scared?
I think it's like one of those mental horror films, you know?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, for sure.
I really didn't think about. There are things that I do because I've watched Final Destination.
Yeah, like
to this day, like right now, yes. Yeah. That is interesting.
Definitely the car thing. Like even if it's not the log, like the cars that are like transporting the big trucks that are like transporting other cars. Yeah. I'm like, what are those cars like flying? So yeah. So Final Destination definitely what was the catalyst for embedding all of that trauma in our
yes.
Yeah. So what about you, Kyra? What movie are we not mentioning that we should be?
So at first I was going to say Candyman, but since we were talking about like I guess like psychological horrors, I'm going to go with the Blair Witch Project.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Because that was probably one of the first films that did like I guess POV filming. Yeah. So it made it seem more realistic than it actually was. And I think I probably was like 15 or so when that movie came out, and it terrified me. I didn't go camping for like 6 years after that.
Blair Witch Project, another movie that did that was tied with Final Destination in voting. So that was a top 5 vote getter by our poll in our poll too. That movie was legit scary.
Yeah.
Legit. Like I left that movie shook. I saw that in the theaters and I left the theater shook. That movie was legit scary. Darius, you're shaking your head. Didn't scare you?
No. See, That was rated R, right? Because I remember we went and saw that in theaters as well. I told my mom I was going to see Sixth Sense because both of them were out in the theaters at the same time.
Okay.
Sixth Sense was PG-13, and we went with a group of guys, and our plan was to go camping in the woods after watching that movie. So we went and got our spot and everything, and then went to the movie theater and watched it. Maybe because I was with a bunch of guys and we were, probably joking around through the theater, but it wasn't that scary. So that one didn't hit me. That one didn't hit me. I thought it was all right. I was like, okay, this is a good movie. It turns out I think I should have went and saw Sixth Sense. I went and saw it like months later when it hit the Dollar Theater.
I think Blair Witch Project is like towards the end, like when they go into that house and the little things in the corner. That right there creeped me out right there. I was
they're standing up. Yes,
they're
they're
like standing up against nothing. Like I was done after that. I was like, okay, no camping for me, no cabins. Like I'm good.
Like, okay.
Yeah,
that's what it got me.
That's a good one. That's a very good one. Okay, what about you guys, Edison and Coco? You each get one.
Okay. You want to do yours? You go first, please. Okay. So the one that's on my list that probably doesn't make a lot of people's lists is Tales from the Hood.
Yeah.
I'm teasing somebody for voting for
that movie because I know it was like a play on like Tales from the Crypt, which I like that whole series on HBO. But I thought Tales from the Hood was well done, and I liked, going to the theater and seeing people that looked like me. But I really liked the stories, and it was scary. I was much younger when it came out, but I think that movie should get more props.
Yeah. Look, when
it did scary.
I hope I'm not spoiling it for Coco. I know she's seen Tales in the Hood, but when he turns into like Satan at the end, I was like, that was it. I was like, I'm out of here. That freaked me out. Yeah, Tales from the Hood. Yeah, it definitely is a scary one for sure.
Yeah.
The little dolls too.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And I haven't seen it on any of the streaming services, or because we put together like a little Halloween playlist every year.
Yeah. Okay.
And, try to watch different things, but I haven't seen it on anything. So.
Yeah.
So what's yours?
What about you, Coco?
Mine. Well, this one is fairly recent, but for me, I think a very good one is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that now? I'm not familiar, so you gotta school me on this one.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was a book first.
Yes, it was. It's been out since like the 70s, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, with the creepy scarecrow looking man.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So they just made that into a movie like last year, or maybe this year, or something.
2019.
Okay.
2019. Yep. Okay. That's enough. I'm gonna have to add it to my list.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of like Tales in the Hood in the sense that it's like different stories being kind of told in one movie, or is it just one movie? Because with the scary stories, are there different stories in the movie, or is it just one?
So there are three different like sort of parts to it.
Oh, okay.
Like the three different stories that they tell, but they're all like kind of connected by like the same group of people.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That sort of
So
thing.
it does kind of have a little bit of a Tales of the Hood element to it, where it's kind of like a few stories intertwined with kind of the same characters. So yeah, okay. I'm making a list too, Coco. You got a list? I'm All right, Darius. Give me a snub. I have a feeling that should I brace myself? Do I need to hold on to something? he usually has wild snubs. So what do we got?
Well, first, before I get to mine, I did look up Tales from the Hood is apparently on Showtime, which you can get a 7-day free trial on.
Okay. All right, there we go. Okay.
By the way.
So check that out. And my scary snub, I don't know if Coco saw this in the theaters with her friends. I did not. But freaked me out. The Wizard of Oz.
Oh my God.
Wizard of Oz. Some flying monkeys. Some flying monkeys.
Yes.
The monkeys are scary.
I give up.
That was the
I'm
only
done.
thing in that movie that was scary.
Okay.
The whole movie was just creepy. Like it was.
Yeah, it's creepy. It is creepy.
At all.
No, it's not for children.
It's not for like the Wizard of Oz, a little bit. Oz, there was just certain parts where you're just like, there's no way that kids should have been watching this. There was no.
Mm-mm.
It was a freaky movie, and then you learn that people commit suicide
Right.
on the thing. That's a scary movie, Stokes. You need to rewatch with the
Listen,
lights off.
when he put this on his list, I let him have it. I'm like, what? I'm like,
You don't know your movies.
I listen. I have to tell. I usually don't give it away, Darius, but I told somebody. I was like, man, I let Darius is tripping. He put the Wizard of Oz on his horror film list, and somebody was like, if that movie makes the top 5, I'm not listening to your podcast. Thank God it didn't make the top 5. I'm not going to name the person who said that, James. But
I know it was James. James is always hate.
he's in the chat room. Look, he says, I'm signing off. Good night.
Don't come back ever again.
Apparently, you're not crazy because Kyra agrees that the Wizard of Oz actually was scary.
And the Oz, like both for me, were both kind of creepy.
Okay,
Yeah, it's true.
so was the Wiz scary then?
Both were scary. Like
The Wizard.
it was. It were just elements in the movie that creeped me out. And I was thinking to myself, even watching it recently when they just put it back on, I think it was like ABC, like earlier this year. And I thought to myself, and I looked at my mom and I said, how the heck did you let us watch this growing up? You know, it wasn't really age appropriate at all. For
Even the Wiz? You thought the Wiz was
I
scary?
don't think the Wiz was
The
scary.
Wiz wasn't. The Wiz wasn't.
No.
I don't think it was. And for it to be classified as like a family movie, it definitely wasn't like really family oriented that much. I mean, it had great, morals, but that's about it.
James and Darius are arguing in the chat room. James says, I'm done. Darius tells him, good night. I hope those flying monkeys haunt you in your dreams.
Oh my God. Yeah, there were a lot of things about the Wizard of Oz.
Monkeys to get him tonight, huh?
When I saw that as a kid, like in black and white, or maybe when they just like released it in Technicolor or something like that. That really did freak me out. And things that made me like, look around and wonder like what was jumping out, or because everything in Dorothy's regular world was also in, the Oz world or whatever. So everything just seemed, so strange. And as a little kid, it was a little, I can see why you would say that.
Yeah.
The good guy, Dorothy, is dropping houses on people. I mean, even the good person is mean and evil. It's all creepy and scary.
Thief, like all in the same movie.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's interesting. Wow. I would have never thought that someone would co-sign.
Listen, Google scary movies, Wizard of Oz comes up too. I'm not the only one.
I'm gonna go back and watch it because I don't remember ever being scared by it. But I remember, and I said to James,
if you get scared at some of those movies, you better watch it during the daytime, sir.
I said to James, I said the only thing in that movie that was scary was the flying monkeys. They're remotely close to being scary, and that was the first thing you brought up. So okay, I'll give it to you. I won't be long on my snub because we want to get to the GOAT here, number one. But it was one of the scariest movies I have ever seen in my life. Like taking it back to, and I know, the remake and everything was pretty scary too, but I'm talking about like the Tim Curry as Pennywise, that, listen, it forever scarred my relationship with clowns.
Red balloons.
And it was just that movie was horrifying. So it would be my snub. I thought it probably for me it was top 5 worthy, but didn't quite make the list. But it was really, really scary.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's funny, right? Funny story. Last Halloween, in my neighborhood, someone was putting little red balloons on all of the drainage things.
Oh my gosh, I would have been gone.
Y'all remember when there was like clowns coming out of like
yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Killer clowns.
Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
That was
yeah.
creepy.
That's not funny.
It's not, dude.
It's not funny at all. Yeah.
It's not. It was such a
It's not funny at all. Well, we've reached the point where we get to the movie that was voted on or ranked number 1. This is interesting because I think you guys are. I think we all will probably agree that there's fear when you watch it, and it is a scary movie. I just don't know if it's worthy of being number 1 yet, but it got a lot of votes. I think even some of you guys had it in your top 5. Is it a I guess could it be a psychological thriller? I guess it's probably considered that. 2017 movie. It put Jordan Peele on the map. Coming in at number 1 tonight is Get Out.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Get Out is, first of all, I just watched it the other night. And
for the first time?
No. Oh no, I saw it before that. But it just happened to be on. I woke up in the middle of the night, couldn't sleep, and I was flicking channels, and it was on. It was like 2:00 in the morning. It was dark, and I was like freaking out, like I had never seen it. When he's in the car with grandma, and and she's supposed to be like knocked out. And she like jumps up. I was like, "Oh my god!" I think just it's so many elements to that movie that makes it scary. I mean, it's not like there are jump scares in it and things like that. But I think the big thing for us, for all of us being African American, I think that element of it, the whole, taking black people and I don't know, taking over their bodies, that whole thing, that was a whole another level of scary.
Yeah, it was.
It was definitely a psychological horror film or a thriller. I wouldn't put it as number 1 though.
Yeah,
I definitely wouldn't put it. I mean, it could definitely be top 10, but I wouldn't put it at number 1. It definitely had like some really good jump factors in there. It had some like psychological elements. It had some race elements that like we're dealing with currently. It had some interesting elements that popped up about like if you do like research where it talks about like white surgeons who use black bodies to reinvent other bodies with white folk. I mean, I guess it's part of Lovecraft Country too. The history's in there, but like it's kind of scary because especially when you see black folk married or with non-black folk, and you start questioning like, do you go camping with this person? You guys drive New York somewhere, like you go home regularly, like are you in contact with your family? Blink once if you need help, twice if you're okay, type thing. I mean, it's one of those things where like even now to this day where like people say that even Kanye is like in the sunken place with so it's like, I mean, it's a key term if nothing else.
Right. Yeah. It definitely, when it takes the direction that it took, I remember the first time I watched it and it went there, you find out the twist. I was like, my jaw was just dropped and I was just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So it definitely, when it ended, it like left me like in a state And I guess that's another thing that makes a horror movie good. It kind of just it leaves you in this weird space, and that's definitely what happened after I watched Get Out.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it has some good comedic elements in there too.
Oh yeah.
They kind of
was,
yeah.
Yeah, he was the comic relief in there and did a good job there. Tried to lighten the mood some, but yeah, Jordan Peele, he knocked it out of the park with that one for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It was another one of those.
Yeah.
Oh,
Us was good too.
Yes.
Yeah, he followed up with Us. That was good.
Yeah, it took me a couple watches on Us, but it was good. It was just it was a lot different from Get Out, but it was. I mean, he's very creative with the way he the way he makes movies, and he's remaking Candyman. So
I cannot wait.
I'm looking for that one.
Yeah, it was supposed, obviously with COVID, everything got pushed back. It was supposed to come out around this time. So, and somebody mentioned Candyman. That movie was so scary. So
scary. I don't want to mirror and do any of that stuff.
Yeah. So I'm definitely interested in seeing the remake for sure.
Yeah.
Candyman was the first scary movie I ever saw. So for me, like it's on Netflix now, and I don't want to go back and watch it. I don't want to ruin, because some people are like, it's cheesy now. I don't want that horror. It's still not.
No.
Listen.
I think me and my daughter might watch it tomorrow. I might have to pop it.
We watched it. Yeah.
She might be freaked out by it though, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was gonna say about Get Out. Like we watched that. We went on like the first night to the theater, and only having seen the preview. The theater was packed with everybody. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the tensions were so high. And we're all watching the movie, and then once we learn, like, oh, so this is what we got going on, then increased because like we're just intermingled in the theater, and like I told my husband, if this goes the other way, we might have to throw some bows, to get up out of here. Because that's how I feel. Like I felt that way the entire movie, and then it ended the right way, and we were able to just leave peacefully. But like that feeling of seeing that film, I think is the thing that stays with me more than like any of the horror, any of the frights, whatever that I felt while I was in. I think that's what makes it stick with people like so much more is like, us, like those feelings.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see it show up as like a number one on just a flat out horror list, but those undertones I think resonate stronger than anything else, and that's why it makes sense that it would be there.
Yeah, it got a lot of votes from the tribe, and then Harris and I we both placed it in our top 5, so it kind of
so did we.
Yeah, kind of by process of elimination kind of had the best placement of all the movies. So that's kind of why it came in at number 1. But I mean, it's very good. I think as time goes on, it'll definitely probably just improve its place, in horror film history. So definitely a great movie. So that is our list tonight. Just to recap, we had Alien and the Exorcist tied for number 5, The Strangers and Halloween tied for number 3, Nightmare on Elm Street at number 2, and Get Out at number 1. I think the Get Out and Nightmare on Elm Street, we all kind of universally agreed were scary, and then everything else was a little debatable. I know I liked Halloween. Darnell liked Halloween. Darius was the only one that liked The Strangers, and then Alien,
go watch it tonight, brave boy.
Yeah, I'm still not going to watch it. But Alien, there was some debate on whether or not that was truly a horror film or sci-fi. So, hey, that's what makes the podcast what it is. It gives people things to debate and discuss. a lot of people reach out to us after the fact, like, how did this make the top 5? You know, like after
Listen, it ain't the GOAT agree.
You said what?
It's not the GOAT agree.
All right, it's the GOAT debate, right? So, yes. Leave us something to debate. But we want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and checking out this episode 23 of the GOAT Debate Podcast. But before we sign off, we want to learn a little bit about our panel podcast before we let them go. We appreciate their time tonight. And I'll start with Coco and Edison. Tell us about the Relationship Review Podcast.
Would you like to?
Oh, me? Yeah, I would be honored. So the Relationship Review Podcast is pretty much within the name what we talk about. We review our relationships, you know, with the things that affect us, the things that like are happening around us, because you know, everything that happens in the world has to do with some sort of relationship. And that's really what we talk about, like how it affects us, how it would affect other people, those sorts of things.
So that means we pretty much end up talking about everything. Politics, the weeks when, you know, we're not really getting along in the house, or family relationships when she was actually going to school in person, those relationships, like just any and everything, whatever comes up.
Wow, that's really cool. And you guys are a mother-daughter duo. Listen, I have podcasted with my wife, and listen, when we aren't agreeing on things, it's like, I don't want to do an episode. I don't want to record anything. So I know, and we've been on hiatus for a while, but I know how that whole dynamic goes. So if somebody wants to listen to the Relationship Review Podcast, where can they listen?
You can listen on Spotify. You can listen on Apple Podcasts now. You can listen on
pretty much anywhere that you can find podcasts, and you can get all that information on our website, which is
our website,
therelationshipodcast.com.
Sweet. Excellent.
And everybody's link is in the description of the show too. So if you're listening, you can find it there.
Yeah, definitely. And then we have the Derelict Collective Kyron Podcast. Tell us a little bit about that and where can people listen?
So I am a co-host. I am one of 7 on the Derelict Collective Podcast.
Wow.
We pretty much discuss any and everything involving music, from I guess the mental health aspect and how it affects entertainers, all the way down to what if we remove one of your favorite artists from the timeline and how it would affect current music today. We can be found literally everywhere. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. We're everywhere. We're on Anchor. We're literally everywhere.
Sweet. All right. Well, that sounds really interesting. I'm a music guy, so I'm definitely gonna have to check it out.
Definitely join our page as well. It's the Derelict Collective, the Sound Battle. So we talk about a lot of stuff on there, and people battle it out for any topic, to be honest.
Okay, sweet. Well, that's great. And then last and certainly but not least, we got Darnell's podcast, Off the Bounce. Tell us a little bit about it.
So I had Off the Bounce, so I did it because my wife, you know, she always got on me like about talking sports all the time, and so she was like, why don't you just do a podcast? Like, you can just go talk sports to everybody, you know, this is the conversation you have. So I do like, you know, if it's Sunday night football, I'll give like the reviews of the games, you know, my opinion on some of the games, you know, activities or things that are happening in sports, you know, kind of big topics that are going on in sports, you know, like as in like, you know, women getting equal pay, or women athletes getting equal pay, you know, or like leadership, you know. So, you know, I try to go on that, you know, on the sports wall, and people already know that like I'm a LeBron fan, so they know when he won, they knew I was going crazy. Everybody was like, I know you finna talk about this one. It's just all sports because, you know, it was my background, so it's something that I love to do. So I was like, might as well just talk about something that I love talking about.
Sweet, yeah. That's usually That's the key. That's usually how you keep going if it's something that you enjoy. So you're a LeBron fan. Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
The king.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, we want to thank all of you guys for joining us on the Go Debate. You made tonight's debate so much fun. Get so much input from you guys. I have a list of movies that I need to go and watch.
Yes.
Really, really enjoyed the time that we had with you guys on the show.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, before we sign off real quick, just want to remind everybody, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. You can check us out on social media. We're at the GOAT Debate Podcast on Facebook. We're at GOAT_debate on Twitter and Instagram. You can send us show suggestions. I would say email, but Darius always clowns me about that because DMs exist. So you can actually just DM our show ideas instead of emailing us. And if you want to do that, that'd be great. But of course, rate the podcast. We're on Apple, we're on Stitcher, we're on Spotify, we're everywhere, just like all of these great podcasts that you just heard about. Darius, anything else before we sign off tonight?
Yep. I continue to plug more and more as we're building to the launch of the social network, which is going to be a collective where podcasters can come together, as well as any kind of content creator. You'll be able to, upload your videos and podcasts. Will be found. We're already on Roku right now, the social network, if you want to go ahead and sign up. But we will also be on Amazon Fire upon launch. So find us on Facebook and give it a like so you can follow. We hope that maybe we can sneak and lure some of these great podcasts on over to the platform as well. But yeah, the social network, find it on Facebook again. I will say that again. Because we got some big things popping.
Right. It's definitely excited about social. It's going to be a network for content creators of color. So definitely looking forward to getting that up and running. As Darius has been working hard and yelling at me for not working hard enough. So there you go.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah. So excited about that. Again, thanks so much, Kyra, Edison, Coco, Darnell. Thanks so much for joining us on the GOAT Debate. We will see you guys next week for another exciting episode. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys.